Hello and welcome to everyone watching this More to Life webinar, whether you're joining us live or through our recording. Tonight, we're extremely lucky to be joined by Nicci Fletcher, whom you may have heard of as the founder of the Childless Not by Choice magazine. Hello Nicci, welcome.
Hello.
Nicci's kindly agreed to share her roller coaster fertility story, which should resonate with many in our More to Life community. In her own unique style, she will tell us how her creativity, especially in her writing, helped her accept and cope with her childless status. It's hoped that through sharing this story, others can be inspired to find strategies, activities that offer comfort for them too. While watching this webinar, you can submit questions to Nicci. We will come back to these questions once she's finished her presentation. All you have to do is hover your cursor over the bottom of your screen and use the Q&A function there. Any questions asked will not appear on the recording, but we do ask you that you ensure you've selected the anonymous button before submitting them. All that remains is for me to switch off my camera, mute my microphone, and allow Nicci to begin.
That's great. Thank you very much, Heather. Welcome to all of you. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. I'm going to be doing something, I'm going to split my presentation up into two sections. The first bit is going to be using some slides when I'm going to be sharing my story and weaving into that of how my life has changed over the last year since World Childless Week 2017. And then I am going to turn off my slides and talk to you in a bit more detail about the magazine and everything that I am doing now. So the first thing I need to do is to share my screen. Bear with me for a moment while I do that. I need to put my glasses on because otherwise I cannot see what I'm doing. That didn't work. Come on, machine. That's a bit better. Hopefully you will be able to see my screen in a moment or two when it's built. There we go. Right, so my story then, and how I feel that I am really stepping into my destiny now. I started writing when I was very young. That's when I wasn't standing next door to my sister and her best friend who were dressed up as a giant pair of bloomers, or when my father wasn't accidentally getting me drunk on alcoholic fruit punch. And I wrote very prolifically at that stage. You know, I was 4.5, 5 when I wrote my first book, and I continued writing a lot through my childhood up until about the age of 16. I'm a bit younger there, but you know, at that stage I was writing an awful lot. And I suppose I was about 9 or 10 when this photograph was taken. And at that time, my grandmother found out how much I loved creative writing. So she gave me her portable typewriter. And that's a prized possession of mine still. And I will mention a bit more about why that's so important a little later on. Now, I continued to write very prolifically until I was probably about 16 when I had my careers advice session. And during that session, the careers advisor told me to stop being so stupid, go out and get a proper job and a qualification because I would never make any money from writing. And about that time, my father, who was separated from my mother, also started to return any letters and postcards I sent to him, red pens to highlight my spelling mistakes. He thought he was doing the right thing to encourage me to improve my spelling. He didn't realise, neither did I, but I'm actually slightly dyslexic. But what all of this did was create what I call a writing dragon. So this was my inner critic, sorry, jumped on there, my inner critic that was stopping me from writing anything. And I didn't write for years and years. It actually wasn't until after I had met Andrew, my husband, and we started going through our journey to try and become parents. So I want to talk about that for a moment. Andrew and I were married in 2005. Now, before we got married, we did actually fall pregnant. I got pregnant at the end of 2001, which was only sort of 8-9 months after we'd first met. We had a split condom incident. I became pregnant, and then I had a miscarriage about week 11. And it basically sort of lulled us into a false sense of security. We thought that my body only needed to smell sperm before I would get pregnant. So we decided to wait until after we got married to start trying again, which we did. We waited and waited and waited. And we were full of hope that something would happen eventually, because, as I said, I'd fallen pregnant when we weren't even trying. And it didn't happen. So eventually we started to investigate the situation, and I actually woke up on the morning of my 40th birthday whilst we were on holiday in the Bahamas in screaming agony. I've never been in so much pain in my life before. And I knew enough about my body to realise that this was my left ovary in severe pain. That was what the problem was. There wasn't much we could do when we were in Bahamas, so I waited until we got back to the UK, went along and saw my GP. He quickly referred me to a gynecologist, and within sort of 2.5-3 months, I had the initial diagnosis that I had endometriosis, which was total news to me because I had never had any symptoms at all. I had my first surgery, which actually, nothing happened because my gynecologist took one look inside me and went, I cannot deal with this, Nicci needs specialist treatment. So I had extensive surgery at the John Radcliffe, and this was basically really preparing my body for IVF, because we'd been told that there was no chance of us conceiving naturally due to the extensive and aggressive nature of my endo. Andrew and I, we self-funded our cycle of IVF because by this time we were too old to get a free cycle on the NHS. And I was put on immediately to the highest dosages of medication. And that seemed to be working. Lots of follicles were maturing. I think it was about 12 eggs harvested, and 8 of those were checked and deemed high enough quality to go forward to the next stage. And then our world fell around. We fell apart basically because our cycle was a complete and utter failure. None of those eggs fertilised. And we didn't know what to do. We were offered support at the time, but it was at that particular appointment, and we were just in such shock that we didn't take that up. And we went back home, and we just existed. We didn't really know what to do. We were in denial. We didn't know that we were grieving and that we needed to take time to grieve. Anyway, during that time, a very close friend of mine reminded me that I loved writing. So she said, I've heard that writing can be very cathartic. Why don't you start writing again and just see what happens? So I did. And I didn't actually start writing about my experience at all. I just sort of waited for inspiration. And one day, I'd been feeling all this shame, etc. And I thought I needed to do something about this. And one day I started to write. And I wrote a poem, which is called Bottom Biting Bears, which was inspired by my goddaughter, who was 4.5 at the time. And I thought, actually, I really like this writing. So I was encouraged to write some more. I had all sorts of ideas about what I could write. Again, none of them had anything to do with endometriosis, infertility, or anything like that. And I started to develop what we now call in our household the Nicci sphere. This is where all of my creative ideas are put so that I don't forget any of them. And at one stage, I had 35 ideas for different books that I wanted to write. And I've written some of those books. I've written an anthology of poetry written by myself, my mother, and both of her parents. I've written the book Bottom Biting Bears and Other Bedtime Beasties, because there are now 25 other poems. And then I wrote 2 books on how to write a book as well. And gradually I found that my confidence was increasing, my confidence was improving, etc. Until I got to the stage where I actually approached the writing magazine, and I said, I'd like to write a series of articles about the importance of writing down your family's history to save it for posterity. And they turned around and said, that's absolutely brilliant, that would be lovely, and we will pay you for it, which was an extra bonus. And I'm really happy to say that my articles made the front page of 4 out of those 10 articles, which was fantastic. However, my heart was still broken. I hadn't really done anything to heal it at all, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know that I needed support because I was in denial. And then about that time, a person that I knew on Facebook mentioned that they were starting out or creating a new group on Facebook supporting women who were childless not by choice. Was I interested in joining? And I sort of said, yes, of course, I'll do anything to support you and help you in your endeavour. However, I really didn't think that I needed the support. So I went into the group, and I would like posts. I might write a comment saying, oh, really sorry to hear this, or hugs or something. And yet I still felt that the women in the group and I had nothing in common. And then I started to read them a little bit more with a sort of an open heart, if you like. And I thought, oh, actually, yeah, that is me. So I started to write some more tangible comments, if you like. And I started to write some posts myself. And slowly, the heart that I didn't even realise was broken started to heal. And as I wrote, various people said, oh, thank you for your words of support. That was really encouraging or really wise of you. And some people said, if I could write, Nicci, that's what I would write. And thank you for articulating what I don't have the words to express. And eventually what happened was my creativity gave me a nudge at 3 o'clock in the morning and told me, Nicci Fletcher, you need to write a book about being childless not by choice. And I started to write that book, and I also started a blog. The blog was initially called The Voice of Infertility, and then about 2 years ago it changed to Accepting Infertility, and the name of the blog has now changed again, which I will tell you about a bit later. So all of these things were happening, and this takes us up to about 2016, April 2016, when in the Nicci sphere I had the ideas about my CNBC books. I wanted to write some courses because I'm a trainer and I create course material and things like that. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to do an online summit of videos to help people and things. And I wanted to create a magazine, an online magazine that I was going to call The Voice of Infertility, Endometriosis and PCOS. And that's where we were, April 2016. And then my world came crashing down around my ears again. All of this healing that I felt that I had achieved was smashed. And what happened was, a very close girlfriend of mine, I've known her since we were 5, she phoned me up. She'd been reading my blogs and she knew how important it was to tell me in person. So she phoned me up to tell me that her daughter, my eldest goddaughter, my eldest of the 2 goddaughters I've got, she was pregnant. And I was absolutely thrilled about this because this young mum-to-be also suffers from endometriosis. And she was 22 at the time. And I thought this is absolutely wonderful because she has dodged that bullet. So brilliant. And I was absolutely fine until after the birth of that baby. I saw the baby photographs on Facebook and commented, loved it, sent a present, etc. No problems at all. And then my brain started to take over, and I thought, this young woman is the eldest of all of the children of my close circle of friends. The youngest child of those friends is going to be 10. She was going to be 10 in a couple of weeks' time. So there's a big age gap there. And the 10-year-old theoretically could become pregnant in 35 years' time. And these aren't the only children that my friends have got. You know, there's 21, 22 children between that oldest one and the youngest one. And my brain suddenly went, you've got potentially 35 years of, woo-hoo-hoo, Nicci, I'm going to be a granny announcement. And my brain just couldn't cope with it. My heart couldn't cope with it. I'd only just recovered from 8 years of I'm going to be pregnant announcements, or I am pregnant announcements, I'm going to be a mum announcement. So that barely healed heart started to break all over again. And that's where I was really until April of last year, so April 2017. I'd started to recover again. The Nicci was back on track and was now very concentrated on, very focused on helping people within the CNBC community. I had got the books that I wanted to write. I'd got courses I wanted to produce. I'd got the online summit that I wanted to do. And I just discovered as well that I could record video. I could not only write about my experiences, but I could talk about it on video. And I didn't mind if I got a little tiny bit emotional, or even sometimes very emotional. I felt comfortable in sharing that. So that's where we were at that stage. And then at the beginning of July last year, Stephanie Phillips announced that she was going to be hosting or organising the first World Childless Week. And I already knew Steph online, so I sent her a PM and said, I've got all of these skills which I think could help you, and let me know what I can do to help. I'll help in the background and support you so you can make the World Childless Week as brilliant as you can. Let's make it a huge success, and I will support you in everything that you do. So that's what I did, and I offered Andrew's services as well. And in total, between the two of us, we did over 350 hours work in the background, so before, during and after World Childless Week. And it was about the Wednesday morning going into the Thursday of World Childless Week when my 3 a.m. creativity nudge arrived, and it said, Nicci, we need to ensure that the sense of community, the support that we're feeling now lasts for more than 1 week. It should be lasting for the whole 52 weeks of the year. And it was a couple of weeks later that I came up with the idea for the Childless Not by Choice magazine. I was very good. I didn't wake Andrew up at 3 a.m. I waited until sort of 7. I checked to make sure that the domain name was available. I checked with the software that enables us to have it online would allow us to do video, because I was convinced that I wanted to include that. And I then told Andrew that we were going to be producing a magazine, and we produced the first one 1st of December last year. And since then so much has changed, because basically World Childless Week gave me the confidence to back that I did have skills which were useful. I could do things like this again, and I went on to produce that summit that I'd always dreamed of producing. It will be happening again next year. I've also done the soft launch for the Infertility and Childlessness Advocacy Network, ICANN for short, and there's going to be sort of a harder launch for that in the coming weeks. And then a few months ago, I came up with CanBase, and I'm going to be talking about CanBase a little bit more later on. But I think that's my last slide, in which case, oh, no, there isn't. There are a couple more. This was a photograph which was taken just about a year ago, and when I look at that photograph, I see somebody who is putting on a brave face. They're very grey, they look old before their time, etc. And I hated looking like that because I felt like that inside too. This is what I look like now. I'm 50 years old and I've got pink hair and I wear flowers in my hair all the time. And I'm connecting with my inner flamingo is what I call it, which is absolutely brilliant. And along the way, over the last few months, over the last year, I've also found some incredibly special friends within the community as well. We have Zoom calls, winging their way across the world, if you want, and they are absolutely brilliant, the friends that I have made. And that's what doing this sort of thing is all about. It's about finding people that you really connect with. And I never dreamt that I would have a community like this, which is so supportive, because I didn't have it for so many years. So that's an extra special bonus. So the Childless Not by Choice magazine then, the current issue has just been published, and I will now talk to you in a bit more detail about that. So I need to just put my glasses on again to stop sharing my screen. It's wonderful. And just get back to what I need to be seeing. Okay, so then the magazine, 6 issues per year. So it's January, February is a joint issue, March, April, etc. So the issue which has just gone out is the September, October issue. There is always a free issue on the website available for people, and there are also details of the different subscription options that there are. The focus of each magazine is always about proactive healing. I used to be a trainer, an IT trainer. I'm a qualified life coach, and I'm all about empowering people so that they can break free from the grief that overwhelms us. Each theme has a general theme to it, each issue has a general theme to it. In the past, we've done things like new beginnings, we are worthy, living in a child-centric world. The current issue is all about dealing with isolation and finding your tribe, finding support. The November-December issue is going to be about thriving at Christmas, because whilst we focus on surviving, it'd be better if we could thrive again. And then January and February is about the roller coaster of emotions that we go through. There are regular features, not necessarily each month, but there are regular features. There's always a couple of video interviews with people who are active within the community. There's an EFT tap-along video and some mindfulness video and audio as well. Depending on who I've been talking to and connecting to, there might be a meet the author interview as well, and that could be a video or a written interview. There are obviously going to be the articles relating to the themes and general articles that readers have decided to send in to us, and then news and updates about what's going on in the community. And then starting in the January-February issue, we're also going to have a new section which is all about living the CanBase life. Adding some light and dark, if you like, light and shade into the articles, because let's face it, we really shouldn't be totally defined by our infertility, our childless status. There is far more to us than that. So there are going to be articles perhaps on gardening, photography, cooking, travelling, skydiving. You name it, it can be in there. You don't have to be an expert or a professional journalist to write for the article. This is a magazine for people in our community, written by people within the community. And in fact, we received an email a couple of months ago from somebody asking us, could I write for could I submit something? And what they asked was, is it only professional journalists who write for the magazine? And that was a huge compliment, that they thought the quality of the writing was that good. Everybody who works on the magazine does it for free. So we have a wonderful editor called Tanya Trussler. She works for free. The contributors to the magazine at the moment don't get paid for it either. They're doing it for free. And the magazine doesn't have any advertisements in it, etc. So we have to keep the costs low so that the cost of the magazine is kept as low as possible as well. If you're interested in writing something for the magazine, then your next step is to email me at admin@thecnbcmagazine.net. And there are no hyphens or underlines or something in the CNBC magazine. It's all one word. So that's the sort of the nuts and bolts, if you like. What's it like writing for the magazine then, or running the magazine? Well, it's incredibly hard work, but it's also a huge amount of fun. It's often very manic the last few days before a magazine is published, because we're always concerned that we're not going to have enough content, that people might not benefit from what we've put together, etc. I do spend an awful long time on Zoom building relationships with people who may contribute to the magazine, might be interviewed by the magazine. And basically, it's fulfilling the dream of a lifetime as well. And it gives both of us a huge sense of purpose, and that we are leaving a legacy that will survive for much longer than after we have gone, because we hope somebody would take it over. And legacy is very important to me. Remember that typewriter? Well, I don't have anybody to leave that to. My older siblings, none of them had children. My parents were both only children, so I have no aunts and uncles, which means I don't have any nieces and nephews. And leaving a legacy ended up being a huge, huge issue for me. And I'm now doing that with the magazine and the other things we do. However, for me, I think the biggest thing I've done in terms of leaving a legacy is coming up with Canbase, and I want to talk to you about that at the moment, now. So I came up with the idea for Canbase after a long telephone call or Zoom call with Brandy Lytle of the Not So Mummy blog. And I have been wanting to find some alternative to using the word either child-free or childless, because neither of them felt applicable to my situation. And so I was feeling frustrated, and I wanted something alternative that I could use instead. And Brandy contacted me because she wanted to bounce some ideas around with me about creating an awareness ribbon for the community. So we had our Zoom call, we bounced some ideas around, and we went, yeah, it's a brilliant idea. I think it's great. We should go for it. What are we going to call it then? And we went, the Childless Not by Choice Awareness Ribbon. Oh, that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? What can we do? So I said about the fact I had been endeavouring to find an alternative, and I would get back to her. And the first thing I did was I went back to some of the ideas I had jotted down following a Zoom chat I'd had with Steph Phillips after World Childless Week. And we've been saying exactly the same sort of thing. And I said, okay, I'll get onto the case. And I came up with some Latin and Esperanto phrases as well. And I looked back at those, and just none of them fitted. They were all too convoluted and things. So I thought, right, okay, I've let my creative side take over for a moment. Let's put back my very analytical, logical hat for a moment. My business hat, analyst hat, went firmly back on. And I remembered the power of acronyms and abbreviations when you are teaching. And there's a particular prioritization technique called MOSCO. So the letters MOSCOW. Now, what you need to imagine is that the O's are lowercase letters and the capitals are uppercase letters, because it's the M, C, S and W which are important. And I thought, that's 4 letters, and we've got 4 letters in CNBC. Let's see if I can make up an acronym. So I went away and I played around with can back, can bock, can back, can you back, and the other 124, or however many it was, alternatives to inserting vowels into the CNBC consonants. And yet again, nothing felt right. So I went back to talk to Brandy and shared my ideas, and she said, oh, actually, I did a blog a while ago about redefining CNBC. Have you read that? And I hadn't, so she sent me the link, and I loved her blog, which is all about creating a new plan bravely and courageously. And within a couple of hours, I'd created the affirmation, creating a new, beautiful and courageous existence, and the acronym CANBACE, CANBACE. And I sent a message to Brandy and she loved it. She could instantly see how powerful it could be. So we decided that we would go ahead with a CAN-based stroke childless awareness ribbon, and also that we should have an awareness day as well. And I'm really pleased to announce that we're going to have the first CAN-based stroke childless awareness day on the 1st of May 2019. So I really think that that is one of the biggest legacies I'm going to be leaving, because people are already saying how powerful they are finding CAN-base. And I'm just checking the time. I hope I've got time for this. I'm all about proactive healing, and I'd really love it for you to take something very, very tangible away from this session. So I want to teach you 3 little tiny techniques which all fit together to help you to use the CAN-based affirmation of creating a new, beautiful and courageous existence. It starts off with a breathing exercise. Everything we do is in sets of, I need the right number of fingers, sets of 3. And what I'd like you to do is, as I'm explaining the next step, I would like you to go back to just the first breathing exercise. Okay, so go back to this as your base, if you like. So we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose. We're going to hold that breath for a second or 2. We're then going to exhale again out through the nose and or the mouth. And once we've exhaled, we're going to pause before we take the next breath. And those holds and pauses are very important, because what that does is it gets your brain, your body to focus on the now. So you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future, you are thinking about the here and now. And as I say, as I tell you the next couple of stages, as we build on this, go back to this exercise whilst I'm talking. So here we go. Keep on breathing while I talk. Sorry about that snort. I've obviously got a bit of a cold. Anyway, so what we're going to do this time, or the next time, is as we are doing our 3 deep breaths in, hold, exhale, pause, we are also going to get our shoulders as close to our ears as possible. So we're going to scrunch up like this as we breathe in, and then as we breathe out, we're gently going to let the shoulders relax. And what that is doing is it's removing the tension that you have here, and that's where people often hold their tension. So again, we're going to do that 3 times. Then whilst I explain the next bit, you carry on with your normal deep breathing exercise. So here we go. And hopefully you're already feeling that your tension is being released here. You're not feeling as tensed up here. Okay, so the next stage we're going to do is basically putting the deep breathing and the affirmation together. So we're going to do 3 deep breaths. You can either do this without scrunching up your shoulders or still doing your shoulders if you still feel a bit of tension there. And then we're going to go straight into the affirmation of I am creating a new, beautiful and courageous existence. Again, 3 times. Okay. If you can, say that affirmation out loud with me. That would be brilliant. So here we go. I am creating a new, beautiful and courageous existence. I am creating a new, beautiful and courageous existence. I am creating a new, beautiful and courageous existence. And that is your affirmation. So that's linking in, starting off with the deep breathing with releasing the tension in your neck, and then the affirmation said 3 times. And I do that in front of the mirror every single day, and it sets me up for having a day where I am creating this new existence. And it is so powerful. Now, when you start doing this, you may find that you're standing in front of the mirror and you're looking down like this because you can't look at yourself. That doesn't matter. Yeah, keep doing the affirmation, and what you will probably see over a period of time is that your head will start to sort of raise up a little tiny bit, and you'll get to the stage where you can look yourself in the mirror, and eventually you will get to the stage where you can look directly at your eyes in the mirror whilst you are saying, I am creating a new, beautiful and courageous existence. I am Canbase. And it really gets you here in the heart, and you can feel in your body that you are moving forwards, and you've got hope that you will be able to have the life that you deserve. And that is absolutely brilliant. So I'm just looking at the time. I do hope that I haven't overrun. You know, I crammed a lot into there, and I know that we want to have time for some questions. So really all that remains for me to say is, you know, best of luck as you're doing this. I have been in the midst of overwhelming grief myself. I'm still work in progress. I'm getting teary again, you know, but there is hope that we can heal. You know, we need to grasp hold of that hope, and we need to sort of work at it a bit, be proactive, and then we will have the life that we, the new life that we deserve, even though we didn't get the life that we dreamed of. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Nicci. We all feel very, very calm after that affirmation. So thank you very much for showing us how to do that and doing that with us. Now, before we look at the questions, one thing that I would like to say is that you mentioned the power of the online support group, and it really helped you with your healing process. And I just wanted to remind people that we actually have one of those on our More to Life website. If you go into the More to Life part of the website, there is a support section, and we actually have an anonymous online community there. So do go and make use of that. Many people are members of that community, and I know that they've really benefited from the support that they've received through that. I think it might be time to have a look at some questions. So let's see what we've got. Are you okay, Nicci?
I'm absolutely fine. Yes. Waterproof mascara is one of the best inventions in the world.
Absolutely. We couldn't live without it. Okay. Let's have a look at some of these questions. I'm not going to do these in any particular order. So I'm just going to have a look. We might not have time for all, so we'll select a couple.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I've just got somebody that would like to say thank you to you. They're saying thank you for the breathing and affirmation technique. I've been really struggling recently and this really helped. I found myself smiling. So that's lovely, isn't it? That is really lovely. So Nicci, did you say that you do that every morning?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
Every morning.
Okay.
Because what it does is it hardwires your brain.
Okay. It gives you that
every morning.
Okay, lovely. Another attendee has asked, I love the idea of the CAN-based life section. Oh, wait a minute, this is moving around for me. That's because someone else has typed one in. I love the idea. Keep them coming because we might have time. So don't worry, I can wiggle around to find the one I was doing. I love the idea of the CAN-based life section of the magazine. Can't wait to write for this section. When can we start submitting to you? Do you want photographs? Do you just want writing? How can they go about that again?
Right. Photographs, yes, as long as you have permission as well. So your own photographs are brilliant, and you can start submitting that tomorrow morning if you would like. We're always looking for new content, and in fact, the earlier we can get content, the better. Even though it might not get into the next magazine, because it's good if we can start working a little bit in advance. So yes, and what you need to do is email me at admin@thecnbcmagazine.net in the first instance.
Okay, thank you for that. Someone else has written, I can totally relate, Nicci. And this is about your eldest goddaughter. I was still dealing with the fact that I'd never be a mum when I got my first friend's grandma announcement. I'd even thought about grandma announcements. I hadn't even thought about grandma announcements, and it hit me really, really hard. Thanks for sharing how strongly it affected you too.
Yeah, most definitely. I had actually started to think about them only probably about 6 months beforehand. It hadn't dawned on me before then, and then somebody mentioned them to me, and I thought, oh, yeah, here we go again. And I sort of considered all of the children of my girlfriends, and I thought, well, the oldest one is only sort of 21, 22, so I've got a few more years to get ready for this. And then 6 months later, and it is a struggle. I can only hope that it does get better, particularly as you get stronger generally. And also, I now have the knowledge that I survived the last one. So the next time, I've already got that knowledge that I have survived this. I can get through it. And I think that does eventually help us to get through these things when they happen time and time again.
Absolutely. It's about finding the right strategy for you to cope, and actually sometimes being honest with people and saying, I've found this a little bit difficult in the past, so please forgive me if, and just not feeling shame about your feelings. I think that's quite important, isn't it? Okay. Someone has asked, you are so brave. Yes, it is a question. Sorry, everyone. I'll start again. I've messed that one up. Nicci, you are so brave. My best friend knows that I can't have children and how painful the journey has been. However, she thinks by including me in everything in her baby's life, she's helping me share it. How do I handle this? I've already told her it hurts a lot, but I don't want to upset her. Thank you so much for this webinar. She's added as well.
It's a pleasure. That is such a difficult situation to be in, because obviously you don't want to offend them. I think the only thing you can do is really just sort of say, we love being involved in some of the things. Don't exclude us totally. Okay. However, if we say to you, I can't come today, or I can't come to give the party, or whatever it is, just explain that whenever that happens, that isn't because you aren't happy for them. It's because you are going through a difficult time at the moment, and you are not being selfish, you are protecting yourself. It's going back to that primeval thing of flight, fight, or freeze. And sometimes we just have to let our natural instincts take over to say, I can't deal with this at the moment, and this is nothing to do with the fact that you have done something wrong, the other person. This is because I have to protect me. And if they are a friend, they should appreciate that. Best of luck.
A few more questions, and this one's a little bit different. You mentioned the free issue of the magazine and the subscriptions. Could you tell me the cost to subscribe to it?
Yeah, most certainly. There are 6 issues a year, and it is $27 for the year. You can also do a half year, and we're just about to give people the option of buying 1 issue as well. So that you've got a different number of different options there. And you can also sign up for something which is called the sneak peek, which basically means that you find out a little tiny bit about what's in an issue, so perhaps the first paragraph or something, but you don't get to read the whole of the articles. So that's another option as well, just in case you want to get a feel for it a little tiny bit more before subscribing.
Okay, thank you for that. Not a question, just a comment. The affirmation brought me to tears. Thank you. So that's another nice comment there about
it. Will do. That will do. It will bring you to tears until you start sort of getting that shift. You're feeling very raw. Use it, even though it brings you to tears, because that's part of what it's about, is getting rid of the overwhelm, getting rid of the negative emotions and turning the corner. So thank you for using it, thank you for persevering, and I do hope that it works for you.
And here's someone else who's just recognizing that different things work for different people. So they've written, I found the hashtag I am me affirmation helpful, which is very similar to the CAN-based one. So I think it's what suits the individual, but I'm glad that you found what works for you. So they're just letting people know that there are others out there too. And
yeah, most definitely.
Okay. Someone else, can you please remind me again of the email address to buy the article? So it's the one about the writing again.
Yeah, it's admin@thecnbcmagazine.net. All one word is the CNBC magazine, and it's .net at the end.
Okay, one more then before we finish up with the questions. How can we get involved with the New Awareness Day?
New Awareness Day, probably the easiest thing to do is to email me at CANbase. So the CANbase website is www.canbase.com, CANBACE, and my email there is Nicci, which is NICCI, at canbase.com. And Brandy Lytle and I are going to be doing, I hope this is okay to do a plug, in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to be doing a webinar which is all about CAN-base, the Awareness Day, and how to get involved.
Okay, lovely. Thanks for that. Now, I think it's probably time for us to start thinking about finishing up. So I want to say thank you, first of all, Nicci, for a really, really interesting webinar tonight. And I do think that there are many people that have gained a lot from that in our community. So thank you on behalf of everybody. Now, I do believe you're hosting a Twitter chat soon, aren't you? I mean, I'll let you give the details of that.
Yes, I am. Brandy Lytle of Not So Mummy and I co-host a Twitter chat every Tuesday night, and it's usually at 7 o'clock, but it's a bit delayed now. And basically, once I've had time to have a comfort break, I will be over on Twitter. And to join in, all you need to do is use the hashtag CANBASELIFE in all of your tweets, and we'll be there. Support, connections with people, a bit of fun, proactive healing and things. And if anybody's over there and wants to carry on the conversation, mentioning they've been on the webinar, I will love to talk to you there.
Okay, that's lovely. So before we go, I've just got some housekeeping to do here. A link to the recording of this webinar should be available within a week or so, once we've had time to edit it and post it. It will also be posted on our Facebook page at More to Life UK, where we try to keep you updated with the latest news and events that we've got from our community. Also, have a look at the upcoming webinars that we've got scheduled. Our next one is going to be with Jessica Hepburn on Wednesday the 10th of October at 8 p.m. So if you want to join us for that one, you can register already. I'd also like to give you a quick reminder that at the moment it's currently day 2 of World Childless Week. So do remember to connect with those activities, which you can find on www.worldchildlessweek.net. Now, the recording of the August webinar that Stephanie, who has founded World Childless Week, did last month, that's also now available to watch on our website. We managed to get that up and posted today, so we're really sorry about the delay in posting that one. Nicci, we don't think we're going to be as delayed in doing yours, so we think we've got this all sorted now. But anyway, the World Childless Week one, the recording is on there, and we're hoping to put Nicci's on there as soon as we can as well. So all that remains for me to say now is thank you very much, Nicci. We've all really enjoyed your webinar, and good luck with the Twitter chat.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you very much to More to Life for inviting me to do this, and also for you hosting it, and all of the help you gave me in the background as well. It's been a pleasure, and I do hope that people found this interesting, inspiring, and above all, helpful as well.
Absolutely, they did, I'm sure. Okay, thanks very much, Nicci. Good night, everybody. I know some of you are going to talk to Nicci on Twitter now, but good night from us here at More to Life. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.